Memories of the Great Depression were still fresh in Americans' minds when President Roosevelt spoke of a freedom from want in 1941. Many could easily recall their own years of want, of hungrily standing in bread lines or wandering the country looking for work and food. Had it not been for Norman Rockwell, Roosevelt's four freedoms might have been forgotten. But, as he often did, Rockwell memorably captured an abstract in real life, using people to express an ideal. His freedom from want resonated with Americans who'd recently regained a measure of security. The entire picture offers a sense of prosperity. The clean, brilliantly lit room, with spotless curtains and tablecloth, glows with a sense of well-being. It is reinforced by the happy group around the table, presumably a family. Note that the guests aren't smiling at the sight of Grandma's golden turkey, but at each other, as they enjoy a family gathering in prosperous times. To emphasize the communal aspect of abundance, the viewer is treated as another guest at the table. The face in the corner looks out from the painting at the viewer, as if to say, "This prosperity, this well-being is yours, too."
Norman Rockwell's quest to paint the four freedoms actually began in failure. He made a series of sketches and came to Washington, D.C. and presented them at the Office of War Information. The leadership at the time rejected the idea and sent him away without a commission to paint Roosevelt's four freedoms. On his trip home, however, he stopped in Philadelphia and met with his editors at the Saturday Evening Post, who embraced the idea and instructed Rockwell to go home, not to work on other features, but to focus on the four freedoms. He was given 3 months to do the four freedoms. It took him 7 to conceive and paint the pictures once he began. The first painting that he worked on, the one that gave him the inspiration for the series, was freedom of speech. As Rockwell recalls in his biography, he woke up, he was struggling, as Rockwell always did, struggling to come up with the concept, the idea of how he would actually embody an abstract idea such as freedom of speech. And he says he woke up one night and recalled a meeting in the town, Arlington, where he lived at the time, a town hall meeting, and a debate that took place in Arlington about whether or not to rebuild the school that had recently burned down, or whether the children would be bused to the next district and taxes would be saved. He remembered an incident when his neighbor rose to oppose the idea of building the new school. And what he remembered is the rest of the meeting, listening respectfully, hearing the point of view, and then, by the way, the gentleman lost the vote. The town voted to enact the tax, $80,000, and to borrow $80,000 to build the new schoolhouse. So this was a dissenting voice. He came with the idea of essentially putting a blackboard in the background, a neutral background, so that the speaker would stand tall amongst a group of people who were listening, holding the annual report of the town, the agenda of the meeting, the agenda here of the taxes, and you see eyes looking and ears emphasized, because freedom of speech is about the obligation to listen and respectful listening. And so Rockwell created this image that showed everyone paying respect and proper attention. Oh, and by the way, that's an image of Norman Rockwell in the far corner, also showing his ears and his eyes, listening to the speech.
You can tell by the details Norman Rockwell puts in the picture. The gentleman's wearing clothing that's different. He's not in a suit and tie like most of the audience. He stands up in his working man clothes. but he looks so noble. He's really inspired by the figure of Abraham Lincoln in that picture, and the citizens listen so attentively and respectfully. You see the courage of the figure in the center to stand up and speak his mind, knowing that he's in a safe, respectful environment of his community. Norman Rockwell even puts a cameo appearance of himself in the painting. The figure in the uppermost left portion is just a little glimpse of a cameo appearance of Norman Rockwell. In Freedom from Want, we're looking at a quintessential American Thanksgiving table and dinner with the family and friends gathered around the table. And this is a beautiful still life in the center of the table. We're surrounded by the animated faces and many of Norman Rockwell's family members and friends. In fact, his cook prepared the turkey that she's about to serve for the family, and Mrs. Rockwell, Mary Rockwell, is in this picture. And yet, if we look in the center of the table, we see a beautiful tour de force of painting. This is a still life that uses many layers of white on white paint to depict the clear water in the glasses and the white porcelain and the polished sterling silver. So it's really a very, very beautiful painting, but it at the same time captures this iconic American scene, the founding Thanksgiving meal of our nation. In Freedom from Fear, we look at a moment that is carried out everywhere around the world, every night, parents tucking their children into bed, hopefully with safety and with security and with the love and knowledge that they'll be safe when they wake up in the morning. And of course we know this isn't so everywhere in the world, and so this picture captured beautifully this concept of being free from fear with a universal moment that everyone could identify with everywhere. There are many details in the picture that invite us to look closely, including the doll and the toys thrown carelessly by the side of the bed as the children are wrapped and tucked into bed with this soft cocoon wool blanket, fuzzy warm blanket. But if you look at the headline in the newspaper that the father is holding, you'll see a headline, "Bombing Horrors in London," referencing the raging war in Europe at the time when America stepped into World War II. In Freedom to Worship, we're looking at a grouping of heads, of people coming together, each worshiping according to the dictates of their own conscience. That's the phrase that's inscribed at the top of the painting. And you'll see many symbols of prayer in this picture, from the praying hands which come together to rosary beads, a Bible, other symbols of various religions. And we see a very pious, very reverential assemblage of people based on this founding tenet in our democracy of freedom to worship. It's been interesting to me to see the different reception over the years that people have to the four freedoms. At times, at certain times of the year, of course, people seem to identify most closely with the Freedom from Want picture because of this warm family gathering and the tradition of Thanksgiving in America. Freedom of speech has often been described as the most powerful freedom, both compositionally and as a painting, and also as one of the founding tenets of our nation. But in recent times, when we've seen the world changed and rocked by the events of 9/11, freedom from fear has become more powerful to people and more inspirational. And so I think this is one of the truly universal aspects of not only these four paintings, but President Roosevelt's ideals, that these freedoms are timeless, and over time our vigilance and our need to defend them changes and shifts, and Norman Rockwell captured them so beautifully with these everyday moments in our lives that we continue to identify with these pictures.
The fourth is freedom from fear, which translated into world terms means a worldwide reduction of armaments to such a point and in such a thorough fashion that no nation will be in a position to commit an act of physical aggression against any neighbor anywhere in the world.
What people forget today is that the concept of four freedoms did not take immediate hold on the national psyche. A few artists made images of freedoms. There was talk of freedoms, but it didn't capture the imagination in any way that people would be excited about until Norman Rockwell. Rockwell's 4 paintings of the 4 freedoms encapsulated, made understandable and tangible the values of each of those freedoms, and were arguably the most prominent and public images, domestic images of World War II, and unified the nation. The exhibition begins with some early Rockwell paintings at the time of the New Deal, the Depression era, giving a little sense of what America was like prior to World War II. And then it goes straight into the war years with videos of FDR's For Freedom speech and some reactions to it from other artists trying to encapsulate the 4 freedoms in art. Following the introduction of FDR's State of the Union address of 1941, we look at some of Rockwell's early war images, images that were about the common person joining the military and what military life was like, a more lighthearted approach. And then really the heart of the exhibition is Rockwell's wrestling with these concepts of 4 freedoms, of trying to come up with imagery that would capture the ideals in a convincing manner, and then the spread of those images across the United States, first through magazines, then through posters, the war bond drive, and ultimately leading towards the end of World War II. The show culminates with some of Rockwell's great and lesser-known works that confront civil rights and reimagine, I think, the values of the nation. And finally, as a coda to the exhibition, the Rockwell Museum organized some 40 artists' work to be shown, work that was done contemporarily today, work by living artists to reflect upon the values of 4 freedoms, to think about them, and to show a different context of how we might think of them today.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. Well, don't just stand there. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. Merry Christmas, Bing. Merry Christmas, Frank. Merry Christmas, everybody.